Right, hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new lesson. I'm down on the first hole of the Earth course at the Jumeirah Golf Estate, and today we're going to be looking at what club should you actually chip with, because sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, and I'm going to give you a nice simple guide that we can look through that's going to help you understand what club we should be using when we chip with. So let's get stuck into this lesson right now. So when we get down to a situation like we face here on the first hole of the Earth course, we might actually need a variety of different shots, and when we're out on any golf course we're going to need these shots. There'll be occasions where I need to throw it over a bunker, there'll be a time when I want to get it running a bit more like a putt, or a time where I want to play a bit more of a standard sort of chip shot and just let it fly halfway, run halfway. And we've got to know, firstly, which club do we want to use, and then how do we approach the shot, how do we play it, because if we don't understand this and we're pulling the wrong club for the wrong shot, chances of us actually getting it up and down or getting it close are going to be pretty slim. So let's take a look at the first one and see what that would be. So the clubs I'm using for this scenario and how I'm going to class it is something that flies 1/3, 2/3 and 3/3 of the way, and then has the appropriate run time as well as we're going there. So let's take a look at the first shot, and this is going to be the one that I would class as the bump and run or the chip and run. It's one that spends 25% of its time in the air, and then the 75% of the rest of the shot is spent running along the ground. So to do that, I'm going to select an iron with little loft on it. So for me, I've gone for a mid iron, I've gone for an 8 iron, might be a 6, might be a 7 for yourself, but I'm comfortable with my 8 iron because, like I say, I want this ball to only flight a little bit and then run the rest of the time as I'm going through. So it will be pointless to get a really lofted club out, because that's just going to send it straight up in the air. So this chip and run shot is great when there's not much in front of us, if it's pretty flat, there's no bunkers, no swales or anything we want to get over, but we just want to maybe lift it over an initial little bit of fringe grass or a little bit of fairway. The chip and run is the shot where we would select to play. So like I say, I've gone for my 8 iron, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to narrow down my stance. So I'm not going to address it like I would do a normal 8 iron. I'm going to get really small, and if you want a good bump and run guide as well, just search for Matt Fryer chip and run shot and you'll find it. Another video I've done solely on this, but we're going to get this smaller stance, and I'm also going to make my 8 iron a little bit more upright by raising the handle here and feel like it's actually working a bit like a putter, because it's not a big shot. I don't need to get the ball going miles, I just want to make sure it's going to run out and get just started on that right direction. I'm treating it very much like a putt, so when I'm putting I don't make these big swings and really rounded swings, so I'm going to try and turn this 8 iron into a bit of a putting stroke. So I would select somewhere, as we can see along the other camera angle, we've got some canes down there, that's going to be 25% sorry, down the total distance of this hole, and all I'm trying to do, like I say, is just bump it forwards and then let it run out towards the hole. So you would have to count for swales and see what you think the ball's going to do when it lands, but it's a pretty, it's a really good shot to have in the bag and a pretty simple one to play. Like I say, small stance, 70% of your weight forwards into your front foot, and then just try and adopt this little pendulum like putting stroke. So let's give that a go. And not my best strike, and the great thing to note about this shot there is we just see it rolling up. Wasn't very good, that one. I caught the ground a little bit early, but as you can see there now, I've got a 10-foot putt for par. So if you're someone who's a little bit nervy when you're chipping, I would say try and get the chip and run shot in your arsenal quickly, because there is a lot of room for error in it. If I would have done that with my lob wedge, which is probably one of the most common things I see, where people pull a lob wedge when they should be playing more of an 8-7 iron shot, if I would have duffed that, it would have been 2 or 3 foot in front of me. So it's a great little shot to have in your bag. So the chip and run flies 25%, runs 75%, and you're going to play it with a mid iron. Let's take a look at the second style of shot that you need to know what club to chip with. Okay, so we're on to the second shot, and I call this one my 50-50 chip because it's going to fly 50% of the way and it's going to run 50% of the way. So this is great if there is, just like we've got here, a little bit of a swale up onto the green, but I still can get the ball running like a putt as soon as it lands on the green. It just takes out any initial little bit of danger. It's not going to spend as much time running as I would do from that chip and run shot or that bump and run shot, but it allows me just to be a slightly bit more aggressive, flight it a little bit further and see it run out from there. What club am I going to play it with? Well, I need to get it up in the air a little bit, but not maximum loft. So I'm going to sit right in my pitching wedge here. It might be a pitching wedge or it might be a gap wedge for yourself. Somewhere around that sort of 50-degree loft, 47, in around there is going to be a great club that you can use this sort of 50-50 shot for. And once again, just like the chip and run shot, I'm not making a big full setup like I would do with my normal pitching wedge. I'm just going to bring everything down. I'm going to make it narrow. I'm going to make it small because I'm not looking to create loads of distance here. I'm looking to really get that nice solid strike. So that's why I've got the weight forwards to make sure I get the club bottoming out at the right time. But I'm ultimately trying to control where it lands and let it run on. So once I've done that, then I would assess my situation and pick something that is 50% down the way and try and land it there. So on there now we'll be looking at the second cane. I'm going to try and land it at that one and see if I can get this one a little bit closer than that first one. So similar stance to the bump and run, a little bit smaller, 70% weight into the front foot with the ball in the middle of my stance and just knock it out. And not bad at all. Just run on ever so slightly there, but was a pretty decent shot overall. Let's take a look at the third and final shot that's going to help you choose the right club to chip with. Guys, before we get into this third and final shot, remember, I want you to get better at golf, and you're going to do that with your free golf lessons with me, Matt Fryer, on the channel here every week. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification. Let's take a look at this final shot and see how we're going to play it. Okay, the third and final chip shot. What club should we be chipping with? Well, this one is for when we get into a scenario where we might have a bunker that we need to go over. We might have a little bit of an uprise that we need to go over. Maybe we're coming out of a little bit of rough grass and we need to get it up, landing softly and trying not to release as far. I call it more of my floaty chip, where it sort of just lands in really soft and never really goes running on too much. If you get a good strike as well on it. So this shot is quite high caliber, and it's probably the shot where people play it when they don't need to the most, is one of the biggest things that I see. And like that first shot that I hit in that bump and run, if I did that with my lob wedge, it's going to cause problems because it's just not going to get the flight, because this shot, like we say, it's a floaty shot, it's a high shot, so it requires a lot of loft. So I've taken my most lofted club here, my 58 degree, and in some circumstances I might even open the face a little bit more to add a little bit more loft on to get it up even quicker. Like I say, the problem is that if it's going straight up and I don't quite connect to it, it'll go out upwards but not very far forwards because there isn't that connection there. So this is more of the high caliber chip, I would say, and requires, you know, really precise strikes and also really a high level of commitment to know that now that I'm playing this shot, because I've got a lot of loft, I'm going to be making a slightly bigger swing and I'm going to be throwing it a lot further up towards the hole. So I'm going to fly this 75% of the way. So we've got 25% in the bump and run. We've got the 50-50 in that pitch shot that I talked about a second ago. And then also we've got 75% here in the floaty chip. So again, very similar setup to what I saw from my original one, but what I'm doing now is just changing the clubs. I will have to make that longer swing because the more loft that I add into the equation, the more that the ball's going to go up and not as forward as much. So here I'm going to make a slightly longer swing and commit to that slightly longer follow through, but see that it's going to stop very quickly when it lands. So I've picked my spot out at 75% down the chip. I'm going to adopt the same stance where my feet are about 2 club lengths apart, club head width, sorry, apart. And then the ball is just in front of centre of my stance, weights in the front foot, pick it 75% down. And there, as we see, not my best strike, so it's run on a little bit there, but if I would have struck it better, it would have stopped a little bit quicker. So we've got 3 shots there, guys. We've got something that's going to fly 25% of the way, which is your 8-iron. We've got that 50-50, which is your pitching wedge, and then we've got something that flies 75% of the way and runs 25, and that is your lob wedge. So try and assess that situation every time you get down to the chip. Is it needing a lot of loft? Is it needing a lot of run? Find out, and then you know the club to pick. Like I say, it might be that you use a 6 or 7 iron for your chip and run, and you might have a 60 degree for your 75% shot. But as long as you've got the right idea with those, that's a basic what club to chip with. And if you can adapt that out on the golf course, you're gonna start actually saving shots there. So give that a go. I hope that's helped you. If you have enjoyed this lesson, like I said earlier, do remember to hit that subscribe button down below, turn on the bell as well. If you want your free golf lessons and you want to get better, which I want you to do that for me now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.